Hello and welcome to Crucible of Words for more dedicated legacy action. Today we are playing some colourless combo. The Mystic Forge One Ring deck that kind of just pops off, draws a bunch of its deck, got an upgrade with Modern Horizons 3, and that upgrade was Glaring Fleshraker. So this means whenever you're playing a colourless spell, you get a Eldrazi spawn token and ping your opponent for 1. This also doesn't target, so it can get through some certain things, like Leylines or whatever, but then this is giving you mana and a win condition to ping, so you don't need to have to go and find the Aetherflux Reservoir or whatever to ping your opponent down. So, how does this deck function? Well, we've got a lot of land that taps for more than 1 mana. So we've got City of Traitors, Ancient Tomb, Urza's Workshop, which is going to tap for 1 for each Urza land we have. And the Urza lands we have are Urza's Saga, Urza's Workshop, and we've got a couple of the new Urza's Cave, which we can use as a colourless land that will pump our workshop, that we can also then use to tutor for something better down the line. So we've got all that mana. Then we've got more mana here in the form of Lotus Petal, Mox Opal, Basalt, and Grim Monolith. And then to make these monoliths pop off, we've got 4 Manifold Keys and a couple of Voltaic Keys. Manifold Key being the better one because we can make our massive construct tokens unblockable. And we've got 4 Vexing Bauble hidden away in here. Let's just pull these one out. So this gives us a way of having an artifact that lets us turn on things like Metalcraft quite easily, whilst also stopping counter spells from hitting our 1 or 2 key spells. In terms of those key spells, what do we have? Well, the One Ring, if this gets up and running, we start untapping it with key, we can just run away with the game. Mystic Forge is kind of like the One Ring, not as good as the One Ring, but also does an absolute shift here and lets us get cards off the top of the library and just go a bit wild here. Then we have the Glaring Fleshraker, which I said is our win condition, but this is only a win condition alongside some sort of draw engine, because otherwise we're just going to be pinging for a little bit here and there and it's not great. But to complement this, we have Kozilek's Command, which we can pay a boatload of mana into, and then look at the top, however many cards of our library we want, as we're putting the mana in, and then we get a bunch of spawn. If we have the Fleshraker, then we just make a load of spawns, drain our opponent with some damage, and if we find another Kozilek's Command off that, we just do it again using the little spawns, and that can usually result in a kill. That's what some of the the Eldrazi decks are doing to finish people off sometimes. Then we have Karn the Great Creator with a little modest package, so Mycosynth Lattice to lock our opponent out. A Paradox Engine, we've got 2 in the main as well. This allows everything we play to then just untap our mana and our draw engine. So we just go absolutely wild once this is kicking around. We've got some Graveyard Hate. We've got a sort of upgraded Pithing Needle here. We've got some more Graveyard Hate. This is one we can board in and find with the Saga, and then we leave the Crypt in the sideboard for the Karn. We've got Ensnaring Bridge if we need to stop creatures from bashing us, because we can obviously win by funneling loads of mana into Walking Ballista or doing Fleshraker things, so we don't actually need the combat step, but we can still use the Saga constructs for the combat step. We've got a One Ring here, so we effectively got another copy of it for each Karn we have. So we've got 7 copies of the One Ring effectively. Argentum Masticore allows us to pick off some problem permanents. Our opponent's got lots of little creatures or other permanents that are jamming up our combo. We can use the Argentum Masticore to discard some cards and blow up some permanents. And then the other things we got is a little bit of removal and some Graveyard Hate. And that's pretty much it. So it's quite a deep Karn board, so we're not going to be doing much in the way of sideboarding. It's going to be like Soul Guide Lantern, Spatial Contortion, Leyline, and the Disruptor Flute. Those are basically the only things that get boarded in. The rest stay as a Karn package for the most part. And yeah, we just rifle off a bunch of stuff and go. This isn't exactly my sort of deck, but it's clearly a powerful one. It's been putting up some reasonable numbers lately, and Vexing Bauble can really jam up some scam decks if we're on the play. So hit that like and subscribe button, and let's see how we do with a Mystic Forge combo deck. We are on the play for round 1, which is not a bad place for us to be. We have 2 workshops, so we're not quite at where we need to be to go off, but we have the Mystic Forge, so we've got some redundancy from being discarded or counterspelled. And we also have the Vexing Bauble, which stops a lot of those things as well. We do need to play out our Petal before we play out our Bauble, obviously. If we can find any... Actually, I suppose we can use the Lotus Petal on turn 2 to make the Basalt Monolith and then make the Mystic Forge shortly afterwards. But we will need Metalcraft to get these as workshops doing their thing. But our deck, unsurprisingly, has many artifacts in, so it shouldn't be the most difficult thing. Alright, so we got the Vexing Bauble in, so we don't have to worry about counter magic, we don't have to worry about some combo decks. There are definitely combo decks that don't care about Bauble, but they tend to be slightly slower than the blistering turn 1 decks. Let's see what our opponent's winning in with. A Polluted Delta, not an uncommon sight to see these days. Into a Swamp. A Stalactite Stalker, so we could be looking at some sort of Death Shadow. It could just be a mono black deck. Just don't really know yet. Mystic Forge. Okay, so I think we are playing out our Basalt Monolith here. And then next turn, we get to play the Forge and try and play as many cards as we can possibly manage. I don't know if our opponent is playing blue mana in their deck. I think we'll find out this turn if they are. It might just be a mono-black deck. Right, there is a Stalker. This incentivizes our opponent to play some sort of Wasteland style effect, and there it is. We still get to do our thing with the Forge, but it becomes a little bit more problematic to play stuff off the top when we can't play free spells, but we can still play the other bits and pieces. A Manifold Key. That generates some amount of mana, doesn't it? So if we play this, and then play this, then we can untap this Monolith, then we can play this Mystic Forge. Key is fine, it's a thing we can play, it helps us out next turn. We only have one Urza land, so this is not the best. Let's jam this Manifold Key. This allows you to cast artifacts and colourless spells, doesn't let you play lands. So we could mill this off, but what are we going to hit when we have no mana going on? Nothing. Whereas this is going to be 2 mana for us next turn, so it's going to make the workshop better. So I think we just pass here and take a hit. Alright, is this the turn where we find out if our opponent has blue mana? Alright, our opponent is a black deck. That's what that Castle Lockthwain tells us. So we don't have to worry about counter magic, so we can crack this bauble without too much fear. Right, so we're going to get hit for 5, which is not nothing. Alright, so we play the Urza Saga. Sticks up. We'll exile top card of our library. A Grim Monolith, you say. This taps for 2 mana right now. We'll play this Monolith. Let's untap this Monolith. Tap the Monolith for some mana and play this One Ring. Then I think we untap the Grim Monolith again here. Deploy the Fleshraker. We've got a Karn on top. I don't really want that right now. Draw some cards with the Karn. A Grim Monolith. We don't have a way of getting that out into play right now. We could sacrifice this Bauble. I don't think we need to. We can sacrifice it in our opponent's end step. Because if we use the mana for this, we're not playing anything off the top anyway, unless it just happens to be a 0. Swamp Cycling of the Troll of Khazad-dûm. Our opponent can't target us this turn or damage us because of the One Ring trigger. Something like a Paradox Engine would be pretty handy here. Alright, a Dark Ritual. Our opponent's doing something large here. Alright, they're just sacrificing a Stalker to kill our little friend. That's unfortunate, but it is what it is. I will draw a card. A Grim Monolith in our hand and a Karn on top of the library. Do I want this Karn on top? Not particularly. I think we'll exile this one. Now we can draw this Urza's Cave. That will give us 2 mana, so we can play that one out. We may as well draw some more cards here. We're ideally looking for something like a Paradox Engine. Right, I can play this off the top for free, and this off the top for free. Don't really want this One Ring. What is the solution to this? We've got 3 mana here. We can untap the One Ring, draw some more cards, untap the One Ring, draw some more cards. You kind of get what's happening here. Okay, so tap this for mana. We play out this Grim Monolith. Nets us mana. Play out this Fleshraker. How much mana we got? 1, 2, 3 mana after we play out the Fleshraker. We could just deploy another One Ring here. I think that seems reasonable. I will keep the one with lots of counters on. We'll just do some protection here. Got 2 mana if we want it, but I don't think we do want to spend this mana or anything. Just pass, and then we'll get rid of some Ancient Tombs. And there's a Saga. And a spare Mystic Forge. So our opponent can't attack us or damage us this turn. They can get a One Ring of their very own by sacrificing their Doughty Voidwalker. So this Urza's Workshop will be tapping for 3 mana, because this Saga's going to die. But between the permanents we have in play, we should be able to win the game next turn. Right, this won't work because of the One Ring trigger. We have protection. Surprised they pitch a Children's Edict to that as well, because that's something that can answer the Fleshraker. Right. Our opponent is probably... They could get the Vexing Bauble here. They could get the Karn if they got something really spicy there. But it's just the One Ring. We could have played out our Vexing Bauble to stop this from happening, actually. That would have been a more heads-up play, I would say. Reanimating the Doughty Voidwalker. Sure. So they're going to grow their friend. I'm not going to exile with this because that could be the difference between life and death here. So if we make a big guy, we can go get another One Ring and just protect ourselves and have a big guy. Or we can just make some more mana. I think we're just going to make mana. I think we can do enough here. So if we get a Manifold Key, that ends up being more mana. So let's draw some cards with the One Ring. Play this Urza's Workshop. And we'll tap these for a bunch of mana. I'll get this Fleshraker into play, because this gives us a lot more stuff to do because we get mana off of all the spells we cast here. We won't get to deal damage to our opponent because of the One Ring. Sholdred's Edict. Yeah, that's unfortunate. Okay, so we can remove both of our opponent's threats with a Kozilek's command. So we've got 1, 2 mana, 3... Like, we probably need to play this Karn the Great Creator, don't we? Let's make a Karn. Let's untap a Grim Monolith. Let's minus this Karn. Get the One Ring. What am I doing? Why don't I just get Paradox Engine then? That would have been so much better. Right, let's get this One Ring on the go. We're going to keep the fresh one. Our life total is not infinite. Right, we will still draw a card with it. This Basalt Monolith is mana neutral. So let's untap this Grim Monolith. We've got 3 mana, 4 mana, 5, 6 mana, 7 mana. That's not enough to do the things we actually need to do here. Let's untap this Grim Monolith. We've made this a lot more difficult for ourselves than we needed to, because I'm not used to playing these sorts of decks. But, exile creature. Oh, we can't target ourselves because of the One Ring, actually. I guess we don't want to cast this K command now either. Right, let's play this Monolith out. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 mana. It isn't enough to do the thing we actually need to do here. So we might as well play this Monolith. It's free to do so. We can't be targeted by stuff. I think I'll play out this Vexing Bauble so they can't use their Doughty Voidwalker. So we've got 3, 6, 7 mana. That's not really enough to do things we want, but we can do a big Kozilek's command next turn, if that's what we want. But all we're going to do is just get a Paradox Engine and win next turn. That seems like the sensible thing to do. So they can't activate the One Ring until they kill our Karn. If they only send one thing at the Karn, we can then blow up that thing. They should just send both because they don't have to worry about anything. So this is 6, 7 mana. So this is 4 mana and 3 mana. So we can kill both of these, keep our Karn alive if we want to. That seems reasonable. So we will make a bunch of spawn. And we will exile a creature. Wait, we can't target ourselves, can we? Keep forgetting about that. Okay, I think we just let this go. Alright, the One Ring. Yeah, if we just got Paradox Engine instead of that One Ring, we could have just gone off and won the game last turn. That's on me. A Wasteland, that can take out one of our workshops. An Orcish Bowmasters, you say? I imagine they're going to be targeting our Eldrazi spawn here. They are. Well, I guess we choose these modes. We want to get rid of this Bowmaster anyway. So we'll block this creature. Get rid of this Grief. This Troll or whatever, it doesn't really matter. Let's get rid of that. That can grow. Do I want this? I think it's worth 1 life to me. We're going to win the game next turn anyway. That is the plan. Alright, so we draw off the One Ring here. Or we take damage, sorry. I would quite like this off the top. That does give us more mana. Right, there is the Paradox Engine that we were going to be looking for anyway. Alright, so now we can just play whatever we want to our heart's content without worrying about anything. So this is a lot of mana we make now. And then we Kozilek's command. We'll scry a bunch, make a bunch of guys. We'll untap all of our stuff. I'll put that on the bottom. That on the bottom. Put all these on the top. This will allow us to just ping our opponent down a bunch. Oh, I clicked the wrong button there, didn't I? It doesn't matter. We pretty much can't win from here. Can't lose from here. Get ourselves a Fleshraker. Make a bunch of mana here. Untap this. Untap this. Untap the Monolith. Tap this a bunch of mana. And we will add some more mana. Kozilek's command. We'll make some things. We'll scry, I guess. So all of these are going to ping our opponent down and finish them off. So this will make 42 guys. We do have to click through this surveil thing. Alright, our opponent scoops, so we don't have to click through that. Yeah, it took me a while, and we definitely messed up a little bit along the lines. So, what would I like here? I think a little bit of removal is probably not going to hurt. Our opponent's probably going to have some irritating permanents. I don't think we want the Leylines. I think it's just these. I think Saga Lantern isn't really where I want to be either. So just a case of where we squeeze in a couple of Spatial Contortions. We can probably trim a key. They're useful, but they're not the be-all and end-all. I don't think we can touch our core package of things that we're trying to draw to. So it might just be another key that goes. Or it might be... The Vexing Baubles aren't amazing here, actually. Alright, let's take out a couple of Vexing Baubles and bring that key back in. We could keep something like a Disruptor Flute. Like, get these in instead of the Baubles. especially on the draw. Because if we're getting griefed straight up. That's fine. Like, the idea is we just have so many haymakers that they can discard some cards, but then we can go. 1, 2, this, then what? We do need to find another land, or a piece of artifact mana we can cast. I think this is acceptable, but it is a little sketchy. Our opponent has shown us Wastelands, which is of mild concern. But basically any land in this hand pops off. Dark Ritual. We're going to see something big. Another Dark Ritual. We're going to see something very big. Like a Shouldered here. Just a hard cast Grief. Alright. So they could take our Lotus Petal here, because that takes us further away from Metalcraft, which we need for our Mox Opal. So it's kind of like Thought Seizing us twice. It also stops the Urza Saga tapping for more mana. We probably need to be F6ing our opponent's turns. I'm not used to playing these sorts of colourless combo decks that need to be a bit quicker on the old buttons here. A City of Traitors. Do I want to play that out right now? No, I don't think I do. I will play out this Mox Opal. Actually, will I? We can just get a thing off of Fleshraker next turn. Wasteland is obviously bad for us here, which I've now spoken into existence, as is the classic way. Alright, the grief comes in. Right, there is a City of Traitors that we can deploy. We can Spatial Contortion this grief if we think it's necessary. But I'd rather... Oh, no. Okay. Let's get rid of this. The other option there is to Kozilek's command and just get a draw one, but I don't think that's worth doing. We're going to F6 all our opponent's turns until we have 2 mana to do anything. Basalt Monolith. Nope. Okay, Reanimate. That's going to take another one of our pieces here. Right, we got nothing going on. There's definitely the risk with our hand. The double Thoughtseize in particular, sorry, the double Wasteland and double Grief is a little bit awkward for us. But it is what it is. I will play out this Urza's Workshop. If we can find like a Soul Land, then I think we're fine. Bowmasters, yeah, we can deal with that when the time comes. It's worth noting that the order in which Kozilek's command works means they will get a ping off of the Bowmasters before we get to exile their creature. A Mox Opal. That doesn't really help us out here, does it? So we need to draw something on our next turn to really get things going. Okay, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. If I can do the maths, this is lethal. 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. Yeah, okay. Well, we've F6, so we just let them connect so we don't accidentally concede the whole match. And then we're on the play. On the play, I am more inclined to want these Vexing Baubles, just because it stops our opponent's grease and things. Take a couple of Disruptor Flutes out. And then we'll drop a key. I do still like the Spatial Contortion. We want to split the keys just in case our opponent has some sort of Pithing Needle type card. I think this is acceptable. Yeah, I'll keep this one. We'll play this Ancient Tomb into this Grim Monolith. I don't want to play out the Fleshraker right away, but there is a chance it gets taken out of our hand. The thing is, we have a Mystic Forge as well. And getting the Mystic Forge down is going to be really good against a lot of this grief type stuff. So they'll probably take the Forge here, and then if they can reanimate, they'll take the other one. The fact they're thinking about this means that they might not have a reanimate, because otherwise you don't really have to think. You just say, okay, there's 2 cards I take. Alright, they were just deciding if they needed to fire off the second grief. They're going to leave us with nothing, but they've 2-for-1 themselves twice here. You got reanimate as well? No, yeah, I didn't think they had a reanimate. Now we get to play the Urza Saga game until we draw something better. Not a Wasteland. That's great news for us. A Null Rod. Okay. The Urza Saga is our plan to beat Null Rods. So this will not tap for 2 because of the... Do I want to save my life here? Or do I want to... I think I'm okay to take a little bit of damage off the Ancient Tomb here. We don't have Metalcraft, so we don't get double mana out of the Workshop. Maybe our opponent will play our Urborg and help us out. I think taking 2 for this is okay. Alright, so they're taking some damage to take our Mystic Forge. Alright, not a Wasteland, so we will get multiple constructs out of this. In comes the first construct. In comes the second construct. This will give us Metalcraft now. What do any of these do anything? Not particularly. I think we just take the Manifold Key here. So this will tap for 2 mana if I play an Urza's Workshop out. So we can play both of these out. And then we can cast this. We obviously can't draw cards from this, but it grows both of our guys and gives us protection for a turn. No Shoulder's Edict over there. It's okay. I doubt the Void Walker. That, importantly, does not block. Right, I'll play this out. It grows our friends. So this is a lethal attack now. GG's. Alright. Not perfect play, but I'm kind of glad that we got to do the Saga backup plan there, because that tends to win the game quicker than doing through all the clicks. But we're going to try and sharpen up for the next one. Let's go to round 2. We have triple payoffs in this hand, and we have the mana to get to them on turn 2. So I think this is a keep. Means we probably want to play... Well, I guess it depends what our opponent does. Are they going to be a Prismatic Ending deck that takes out our 0-drop artifact mana, or are they going to be a discard deck that takes them out of our hand? If they're a discard deck, then we might not get a choice, because if they look at this hand, they'll probably take the fast mana. Okay, we're a Cloud Post deck. Vexing Bauble is no good here. So Vexing Bauble gives us Metalcraft, but it might stop us playing some 0-drops. So I think we're not even going to play out the Bauble here. Like, we're going to get Metalcraft off this One Ring next turn anyway. See how bad this turn is going to be for us. Normally turn 3 is the kind of the scary turn from Cloud Post, where it's like, oh, we suddenly got like 6 mana and you don't have any permanents. Bush Spirit Guide. Alright. This feels like a bad time for us. Because they're going to go get Tower here, and they're going to Myco spawn. Oh no, it's just a Karn. That is worse in different ways. Cool. Yeah, this Cloud Post deck is so good. So we don't get to do anything anymore. Kozilek's Command. What does that actually do for us here? We can make a guy and exile a thing, but our guy can't actually attack a Karn. Yeah, we're just super dead to Karn, isn't it? Who'd have thought that Null Rod's effects in the main deck would be so good against us with our colorless artifact deck? Cloud Post, sure. Yeah, they can start eating our artifact mana. It doesn't really matter. Do I want to dig one and get a token? I think we do. I think we have to do something. Like, we are very far behind here, so we need to do something. To scry one, draw a card, and make a little bit of mana. Karn is probably our way out of this. Right? What do we have in our sideboard? Let's have a little peek. A Disruptor Flute on our opponent's Karn doesn't feel great. Argentum Masticore, on the other hand, that is something. We can discard a 4-drop and kill a Karn. Alright, so we have to put this on top of our library. A Glaring Fleshraker. Is that better? It might be better because it allows us to generate some more mana. So if we play the Karn, we can't do anything with it immediately. This can pressure the Karn as well as generating us some mana. I don't think there's any point playing out the Bauble here. It might stop us playing 0-drops down the line. That's the thing with Vexing Bauble. It's either an amazing card in a matchup or real bad. Like, you know, you can still cycle it, but in a matchup like this, we don't have the time to cycle it. But normally our deck has so much mana that we can cycle it. The One Ring. Well, we're going to shut that down with our own Karn next turn. And this protection doesn't stop us from attacking their Karn. I guess the one thing we could have done by playing out a Bauble last turn would have been to have an additional 1-power guy to attack the Karn with. Right, they got more to send our way? Hopefully not. If we can find like a good land here, we might be able to get a bit more done with our Karn. So if we could Karn and get Disruptor Flute, we can shut off their Karn and then beat it down over a couple of turns. And that's probably better than the Argentum Masticore, which we're not going to be able to cast for another couple of turns. Our opponent has a Disruptor Flute. I am curious what they name here. Probably not the One Ring. Could be Mystic Forge. Could just be our Karn. Kozilek's Command. They just want to make it cost more. That's understandable. Alright, so we will attack our opponent's Karn. Get a little bit of damages in. This is exactly why we didn't play the Bauble. So play this one out. And we can play our Karn. We can get a 2-drop. We can just name the Karn here. And leave our opponent with 1 card in hand and nothing. I think that's okay here. Because our opponent can't use their One Ring and they can't use their Karn here. And we have a creature that can pressure their Karn down until we get all of our artifacts back. And then we should be able to win with what we've got. We also have this One Ring slowly chipping away at our opponent. It's not going to do enough to kill them, but it might shorten the clock by a turn. We don't want to see something like a Mycospawn or a naturally drawn Eye of Ugin. 6 mana, including green. That is kind of worst case scenario, really. Because this takes out one of our lands and gets them the Eye of Ugin for next turn. I'm going for the Workshop because our City of Traitors auto dies anyway. We can't pressure the Karn anymore because of the 3/3 blocker in the way. Yeah, things have taken a turn, I would say. Yep, we're losing land and all sorts. Okay, they went for more mana rather than an Eye of Ugin, which might mean their last card is Something like an Ulamog would be an obvious disaster. Manifold Key. Well, you don't do anything, do you? Which isn't really what I want. So you can play out this Manifold Key. That does give us a ping. If we play out this Vexing Bauble, we can still play stuff into the Bauble, the 0 drops. They just won't do anything because they'll get countered. We still get the trigger though. So I think it's probably worth playing this just to get another trigger on our Fleshraker here. If our opponent attacks, we can chump block. We have 3 mana available to us, which does not cast our spells. Not necessarily that we particularly want to cast any of our spells right now. Bit of a toughie. If they play the Ulamog, we can probably just scoop this up here. Play the Nexus. They certainly have Ulamog mana if they want it. They're 1 away from an Emrakul at this point. 11 mana. This feels like the Ulamog. I still don't know why you don't get the eye there, because you can still cast Ulamog off that, right? So what is this going to blow up? And how are we supposed to beat this? We don't get to activate our Karn. All of our spells are so expensive. If they take out the Fleshraker and the land, I don't know how we win this one. Taking out the Karn, yeah, I think we should just call that one. Our opponent did some big mana stuff. Karn is just absolutely backbreaking for us. Spatial Contortion doesn't seem great here. The Disruptor Flute is okay. I think I will take these Disruptor Flutes over some Baubles. Do you want anything else here? Not really. Is Spatial Contortion better than a Vexing Bauble? We can play the Vexing Bauble out as a colourless spell. It's an artifact. We can always cycle it. I think we're fine like this. I don't particularly like it, but I think it's acceptable enough. I'd rather have more flutes. What does this hand do? Turn 1, key. Turn 2, flute. Not really any big mana. We need to go big here. Alright, this is big mana. I'll take this. We'll keep this. What do we get rid of here? This is certainly a bit of a combo. Do we need this Urza's Workshop? I don't think so. Right, Ancient Tomb. Our life total probably doesn't matter that much in this matchup. It's either going to be our opponent going massively big over us or us going underneath what they do. And there's not really going to be any sort of like trading of damage for the most part. Does not feel like a matchup where the Urza Saga beats is going to do very much unless it's just we make our guy unblockable and smash with one big guy. So I think we can safely bound a bit of life into these Ancient Tomb activations. We can play out a Karn next turn and start working with that. Vexing Bauble. Our opponent has a similar problem to us maybe where they don't have enough cards to board in. And they're left with some Vexing Baubles. We could play out the City of Traitors. So if we go 1-2, we can play out this Basalt Monolith. This is 4 mana. We can untap this, go down to 3, and then we go up to 6. That doesn't really get us anywhere, does it? I suppose we played into a potential Force of... No, we can't get Force of it because of the Bauble. Right, so we play out the Karn here. And what would we tutor for here? We could get ourselves the One Ring. That probably seems fine, doesn't it? We don't get to play it out now, unfortunately, but... We shut off our opponent's ability to redraw off this Vexing Bauble. We shut off our opponent's ability to do any One Ring stuff. We can go get an Argentum Masticore if they somehow spam out a Karn here. But otherwise, you can play the Fleshraker into the One Ring. And then go from there. We have 8 mana next turn. So we could just go and get Paradox Engine. And then untap everything. Play a Fleshraker. Untap everything. Play the One Ring. And then just try and win the game that way. Alright, I think that's the route. Candelabra of Tornos. Okay. So we might be able to win the game this turn. So this is 2, 4. We play this out. 6 mana. This untaps the Basalt Monolith. Tap this. So we have 8 mana. So we go -2. Go and get the Paradox Engine. Play the Paradox Engine. Then we play out the Fleshraker. This untaps all of our permanents. Well, all of our non-land permanents. So then we go 3. Untap this. Put another Fleshraker. This will untap our permanents. We just yield to these to save ourselves some time. I know we have the One Ring here. So we will untap this. Play this. And we're grinding our opponent down the whole time here. Draw a card. We'll untap the One Ring here. Draw some more cards. We'll play out this Grim Monolith. We untap all our permanents. We burn our opponent down. We've got loads of mana here. We just need to keep a steady supply of spells coming. Now we'll draw some more cards. Alright, our opponent's had enough because from here it should be very difficult for us to fizzle. Because we get to draw 3 cards from this, then we get to draw another 4 cards. That's 7 cards to find 1 spell. And we have plenty of mana, so we can just keep going from there. How we sideboarded. This is fine. Let's just go back in. I don't particularly like the baubles, but I think it's better than having something like a Saga Lantern. We could have some Spatial Contortion, but just having the thing that gives us Metalcraft is sometimes going to be really useful. Turns on our Mox Opals and our Urza's Workshop. Not a massive fan of having the City of Traitors, but it's not going to take much for this deck, for this hand to pop off, and we do get another draw step. I think the Fleshraker is kind of one of the key components for us to be able to race what our opponent's doing, so I am leaning towards keeping this one. But that might be... Is that wild to do? Our opponent's mulliganed. Are we supposed to keep this? This is a really important card that allows us to pressure Karn. It also gives us a bunch of mana to work with. I think I'm going to keep this one. I wouldn't fault someone for sending this one back. City of Traitors is certainly an awkward land to have here. But once we get the Fleshraker up and running, then we should have no mana problems. An Ancient Tomb. That's a pretty good draw. We don't need to play it out anything this turn because we can get more Fleshraker triggers next turn. So you can play the City of Traitors, make 4 mana, play Fleshraker, Manifold Key, Mox Opal. That's a pretty good start to where we need to go. Don't want our opponent to make a Myco spawn this turn though. I think that just accelerates our opponent so much. So next turn is a setup turn, and then turn after we can hopefully make some real tracks into winning this game. Opponent could be doing a Kozilek's command for 1 over there. A Disruptor Flute. What are you going to name? You're going to name Fleshraker. They are going to name Fleshraker. That's a little bit on the rude side, isn't it? Okay. I suppose the play is probably Mystic Forge. We can still play the Fleshraker, it just costs us more. Okay, I'll play this off the top. I'll play this off the top. So now our Mox Opal is online. I'll play this Manifold Key. I don't think I want this Fleshraker on top. We've got another one in hand. A Kozilek's command. Not doing anything with that now. I don't want to crack my Lotus Petal here. Pass. So Disruptor Flute makes it cost 3 more. So we need to spend 6 mana to get our Fleshraker, which might prove difficult. We're going to see another Disruptor Flute here. I'm not sure why you do it in our upkeep there if you're going to do it. I guess they can see what we're about to draw, and maybe that changes what they want to do. Let's cast a Basalt Monolith. It feels like our opponent will just K-command our Fleshraker. I think we're going to exile this Kozilek's command on top of our library. It's not what I'm about right now. The One Ring, though, that is very much what I'm about. Now, they have a Disruptor Flute. They can flash it in and stop the One Ring here. A Disruptor Flute. Exactly as we thought might happen. We still get the trigger off of this, so it's not completely dead, but it's unlikely to matter. Tap this Basalt Monolith. So there's 3, 4, 5 mana here, which is not enough to cast our Fleshraker. We can K-command here, though, so we can do... We can't Scry because we can't target ourselves. Oh, I hate this. I guess we pass and hope to survive another turn. Yeah, K-command not working with the One Ring is kind of annoying, because this is protection from everything. It's not hexproof. So our opponent does just get to... Sorry, we just don't get to do anything with our K-commands. That feels horrible. We can do Fleshraker into Kozilek's command next turn, though. And Urza's Tower. Our opponent is just doing very defensive stuff by the looks of it over there. The One Ring will not deal us any damage because it's got no counters on. And Urza's Workshop. I will play this Urza's Workshop. I will float some mana off of this City of Traitors. It does feel like our opponent has a Kozilek's command. Right, let's just make loads of mana here. Let's make a Fleshraker. Let's cast this Kozilek, this key, sorry. Let's exile this top card of our library that we don't want. Let's untap this Monolith. Tap this Monolith. It's Kozilek's command. So let's make some guys, let's scry. Target ourselves. This is going to make a lot of tokens, and then we can just play another Kozilek's command here. If we can chain enough of them, we might just be able to win the game here. Okay, we don't want this, so that can go on the bottom. This can go on the bottom. This can go on the bottom. I like the rest of these things that I'm seeing. Doesn't matter which order we put them in. I think we go... We don't want this Mystic Forge, actually. Let me just go top, 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 top. We've got a bunch of triggers here. We're going to keep playing some more spells. Getting some more triggers. I think we have this game won. Not sure what our opponent's hand contains. Cast this. Some mana. Cast this key. Untap Monolith. Make some things. We're going to sacrifice all of our guys into this because they basically get a rebuy here. Just going to make 13 guys, which will ping our opponent for 13. I think if our opponent could have interacted with our Fleshraker, they would have done so by now. Probably in response to the first K command. There's something happening over there. With a Suva. Okay, so they're getting a Glimmer Post here. That puts them up to enough life to survive for a little bit longer. Actually, no, it doesn't. This gives us 13 tokens, which is 13 pings. But yeah, so that is exactly right. Because they forgot the one that we get from the Kozilek's command. Yeah, we managed to get there. Our stuff is a little bit quicker than our opponent's deck, although they kept a very slow hand that was quite defensive. I'm not sure if that's how I like to approach this with card quest, but I can understand wanting to do it because the deck we're playing today is quite scary, so having some defensive stuff for a deck that can definitely go underneath you makes some amount of sense. But I feel like they could have had a little bit more ramp going on. Alright, with 2-0, let's go to round 3. Alright, we're on the die roll again, which is handy. I'm a little bit reluctant about how Wasteland impacts our hand. But we can just play out this Basalt Monolith right now. Alright, you gotta believe. And that's what I'm choosing to do here. Put Lotus Petal, Basalt Monolith, put Manifold Key. We will untap this Basalt Monolith. We will deploy. I think I want the Forge over the Karn here. A Fleshraker on top. Because the Forge helps us if things go wrong. Alright, not a Wasteland. So our opponent was a Euron deck. And they looked to be on a Death and Taxes build rather than the sort of blue Zenith-y, control-y style build. A Paradox Engine, that's pretty exciting, isn't it? So if we untap this Monolith, it gives us 4 mana, which is not enough to play this Paradox Engine. But we could play a Fleshraker into a Bauble. Is that good? We could always take this Paradox Engine off and see what's underneath it. Okay, not a great thing there. So, do we want this Fleshraker into Bauble, or do we want this Karn? I think I'm into Karn here. And then we can, if we minus this, our opponent is unlikely to be able to do much about this Karn. I think we, can we Lattice lock our opponent next turn? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. We can just Lattice lock our opponent next turn. That's not the worst, is it? A Swamp. So our opponent might have like a Shoulder's Edict here to make us sacrifice our Karn to break up the Lattice lock. Right, they're attacking the Karn for 1. I would like to draw this Soul Land, so I will keep this on top. Let's play this City of Traitors. Let's get the Fleshraker on the go. Play this free spell. Go to this top card. Don't really want the Vexing Bauble. Let's untap our Monolith. I think it is worth playing the Bauble out here, though. Another Workshop. It's not ideal, is it? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 mana here. We lose the Karn. I think that's fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Yes, so we get Paradox Engine. It just untaps everything, and we should be good to go. Because this will get us a Spawn token that can start the whole party going, in theory. I think we should probably activate this Mystic Forge first. Ancient Team. That's not really the one we want, was it? Let's untap this Basalt Monolith. Let's draw a card with this Vexing Bauble. A little bit worried about how Bowmaster's going to interact with us here. There is the Bowmaster's. Let's draw another card. Where is this going to go? At the Fleshraker. As expected. But this shouldn't matter now because of the Paradox Engine. Make a load of mana here. Untap this. We'll scry. We'll make a bunch of guys. If they ping one of our guys, we just get to ignore that. Okay, so we put the lands on the bottom. We don't need those right now. Everything else here is gravy, though. So we'll put all of these things on top like this. Draw this. Bowmaster pings. If you ping one of our guys, we sack it. They should go to the face of this. Just add the mana here. And then get a guy. Not that it matters at this point. Cast this Fleshraker. Cast this Fleshraker. And as you can see, we're just going to keep popping off here. All the manas you could possibly want. Not even going to bother adding all the mana because we just got so much coming in. Paradox Engine is a very silly Magic the Gathering card. Cast this. Yeah, not going to bother doing all the key activations here. We don't need to. Tap the mana. Just let the Paradox Engine do the work. Cast another thing. And this will be the last points of damage. Pretty cool. So, this is a matchup where we would like these Spatial Contortions, I believe. And The Vexing Baubles don't seem great here. They can stop a... what's it called? Solitude. I think we're better off having the Disruptor Flute to stop Wasteland. Or whatever. Alright, we're just going to board in our interactive spells. Quite a bit of clicking with this deck, but it certainly feels powerful. Now, there's a lot of mana, but it doesn't really go anywhere. We have a lot of payoffs, though. We could go this into Monolith, untap. We can turn Urza's Cave into something next turn as well. Alright, I'm going to believe in having a bunch of mana in a Wasteland matchup. I think that seems like a reasonable place to be. Stony Silence is definitely something to be afraid of, so I like having the Cave that can become an Urza's Saga. A Caracas. That's not the thing I'm particularly worried about right now. Yeah, I'll take this Ancient Tomb. Let's play a Grim Monolith. Let's play a Key. We're doing it this way around so we can play around Mindbreak Trap. If they take out our Monolith at the end of the world, they're probably going to save it for something big like a Karn. But joke's on them, we don't have it. So our opponent's blacks, they might have some discard stuff. But I think we still hold this back in case of Fleshraker. We should have used that mana to untap the Grim Monolith, because this is 4 to untap and this is only 3. There's a Wasteland. That was one of the things that we kept his hand to beat. A Disruptor Flute. There is our Urza's Cave. I will play out this this Mox Opal. Chrome Mox would be significantly worse than our deck, I think. So we'll see what our opponent does. But we're probably just going to be on the Urza Saga train. This could be something like Maze of the Moon off of the Arid Mesa, but I doubt it. I think this is just a white fetch rather than a white-red fetch. Oh no. Bad lands. Thalia, Guardian of Thraben. They've already played their land for turn. Alright, let's tap this Monolith. Urza's Cave. Go and get the Urza's Saga. Deploy this Disruptor Flute. Naming Wasteland. And then your Thalia can resolve. Next time we get to make a little friend. And it's going to be big. There's no denying it's going to be a big one. Not a great draw, this one. Alright, so I will untap this Grim Monolith. And then we will make an Urza Saga construct. It's going to be 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A 6/6. So our opponent can't attack here unless they have some removal. Because of Glaring Fleshraker, they might have more removal in their deck than you would necessarily expect against like a dedicated combo deck like ours. Right, no removal, because I think they would fire it off then. Make a big friend. Make another big friend. I think we want the Manifold Key here. I'll play out this Grim Monolith. And I guess I'll attack with my 9/9. We have lethal damage next turn through blockers. A Swords to Plowshares. We're going to gain a lot of life from this. That seems reasonable to me. I don't think I want to play out this City of Traitors. I'd rather use it for a burst of mana. We can use this Mox Opal to untap our Grim Monolith. We've got quite a few draws that do work for us here. Ajani. Okay, I've not seen this one in play yet. So this is a 2 mana 1/2. When it enters the battlefield, create a 2/1. So it's already 2 mana for 3/3's worth of power. Not bad. Whenever one or more other cats you control die, you may exile Ajani, return to the battlefield transformed under his owner's control. His +2 is put +1/+1 on each cat you control. His 0 is create a 2/1 cat token. When you do, if you control a red opponent other than Ajani, he deals damage equal to the number of creatures you control to any target. And then -4, each opponent chooses an artifact, a creature, enchantment, a planeswalker from non-opponents they control, and sacrifices the rest. Alright, that's a lot of stuff. But we don't have to allow them to block with this. I will untap this Grim Monolith, because we can use the Manifold Key to make our construct unblockable. I don't want crazy cat shenanigans. Do I want to play this out? Untap this. We got 1 mana, 2 mana. So we haven't got enough to untap this Monolith without tapping our other Monolith. Unless we play this Mox Opal, but I don't think we want to do that. I think I will play out this Ancient Tomb though. So we are in a reasonable position, but a single plow on our construct does kind of scupper everything we've got going. I think our opponent's going to crash for a bunch here, but they gave us a lot of life earlier, so this isn't even going to take us below our starting life total. And if we draw one of our combo-y type things, like our One Rings or our Mystic Forges, we can really just pop off here, even through the Thalia. 1 and a black. Okay. So they've got a 2 mana or a 3 mana spell, depending on... Okay, it's an Orcish Bowmasters. That's fine. Again, our creature is unblockable. A Glaring Fleshraker. Doesn't really achieve that much here, does it? Right, we will make our construct unblockable here. Go to attacks. Play the City of Traitors. I kind of want to just keep this as a flurry that we can fire off. If our opponent has a a removal spell. I guess it has to go on the construct, but if they have discard, we probably want to get this out of our hand. Right, let's... I think this is better than spending our hard-earned life off into the Ancient Tomb. We're pretty close to just being able to win the game here. Alright, we got the GGs. I assume that means they're not just about to, like, blow up all our permanents. I think we just take this. We don't need to mess around. First strike from Nathalia, and the rest of it from the other guys. Right, there's the victory. So we are 3-0. We're cruising. Let's go to round 4. Yeah, this hand makes a turn 1 Mystic Forge. But if our opponent's on the play and they scam us, they take all of our stuff and we lose. Lotus Petal and an Ancient Tomb. I was worried about some kind of show and tell, but we managed to dodge that one. Okay, so I play out this Ancient Tomb. I play out this Grim Monolith. I play out this Lotus Petal. Then we go for the Mystic Forge. Is our opponent a deck that gets to care about these things? Okay. Sure. I'm okay to draw this Fleshraker, I think. What is our opponent up to over there? They tapped and untapped an Ancient Tomb. Cavern of Souls. Eldrazi. Alright, we're in the Eldrazi town over here. 4 mana for a Thought-Knot Seer. This can take our Monolith. But this Monolith isn't additional mana. It's just mana neutral. I would like to get this Fleshraker in. Hopefully there's something good on top. So we could play out this Saga. But I think I just need to get the ball rolling with the Fleshraker here. I will play this Bauble off the top rather than activating our Mystic Forge. The One Ring. That is a good card, isn't it? I'll leave that on top. And I will pass. I'm tempted to block with the Spawn and crack the Bauble. I don't think that's a great idea, though. Because putting this in our hand exposes us to a bunch of stuff. But if our opponent plays something big that we need to answer, then... Or, you know, if we need to protect our life total here, we can jump the Spawn in front of something. A K command for 3 on our poor little guy. Yep. Poor little guy. We could save damage here. This is 4 damage. That's a lot of life. Then we block. And I will draw a card off the Bauble. Paradox Engine is a pretty strong one. I think we play out this Urza Saga. Play out Your Friend and Mine. One Ring. I guess we could have waited to see what we draw off the One Ring. Or what the card underneath the Mystic Forge is. Right, let's draw a card. A Workshop. That taps for 2 mana, so that's a soul land. That's pretty good. I think that's probably better than bidding off a card here. What do we have? We have the Paradox Engine next turn. We just need lots of mana and then we can win the game. Because Paradox Engine and the One Ring is quite the combo. Alright, our opponent's going to have a lot of mana this turn. But what can they do with it? Ulamog? That would be super scary. They might just make like a massive yacht, like the 6/6 guy. Okay, they're drawing some cards with a Null Drifter. That's fine because we're hopefully going to win the game next turn. Our opponent can Kozilek's command for a little bit. I don't want this City of Traitors, so I'm going to exile this card. Okay, let's draw some more cards. So this is 5 mana. This will tap for 2 mana, and we just get the engine going. Alright, in comes the Grim Monolith. All of our stuff on taps. We will activate the One Ring. Make a bunch of mana. We got some mana coming in. That's... Alright, let's draw some more cards. Okay, a Glaring Fleshraker. Yes, we play the Fleshraker, we play out a bunch of spells, command our opponent. They know they're cooked. This deck feels real good. Spatial Contortion. What do you do for us in this matchup? You maybe buy us a bit of time, and you're certainly better than the Vexing Bauble, which I'm not impressed with in a lot of our matches today, to be honest. And I think the Disruptor Flute is also reasonable here. I think having the Ensnaring Bridge in the sideboard is still where we want to be to go and grab with Karn. Yeah, this is pretty simple. When Vexing Bauble's bad, board in these 4 cards, or maybe board in some Leylines if we find that sort of matchup, but we haven't been finding that sort of matchup. Turn 2 Mystic Forge is kind of where we want to be, so I will keep this on. A little bit worried about early Thought-Knot Seers, but that's just the nature of this game sometimes. We're going to see a Fleshraker on 1. We are going to see a Fleshraker. And they've got a follow-up. But we can kill this Fleshraker, which we will do. I think we are playing out the Ancient Tomb, even though our life total is very much an important resource here. We want to kill this guy now. Now we get the One Ring instead of Mystic Forge, which is better. But they can Thought-Knot Seer, and they might take the One Ring here. Chalice for 0. That stops some of our things, but not enough of them for us to care about. I thought not, sir. Alright, so we're going to lose the One Ring, most likely. Although Glaring Fleshraker makes a lot of chump blockers. And it is our win condition, I suppose. We do have other win conditions because we've got Karn and stuff, but... Right, I took the One Ring. That is not a surprise to me. What can we find this turn? An Urza's Cave. I think we are taking some damage and putting this Mystic Forge into play. Karn the Great Creator. That doesn't quite make us an Ensnaring Bridge, but it's not a million miles away from doing so. But these Ancient Tombs are going to stack up. Opponent's only got one card in hand. Unfortunately, it looks like a Reality Smash. Nope, it's Mycospawn. Yuck. Okay, so they're going to take out our Ancient Tomb here. They might take out the City of Traitors to force us into paying life. Oh, they're going to get them both, aren't they? Yes, because they kicked it. Ugh. Alright, it was nice not being in the bin for a little bit, but now we are very much in the bin. Our home is the bin. I don't think we can afford to keep a Karn here. I think we're just dead. Like, this Mycospawn is so good. Alright, there's a Karn on top still. Okay. If we didn't want the last Karn, we don't want this one either. K command, that does nothing here. We can cast this so it gets countered. 4, 5, 6, 7 damage. So we get one turn after this. Guess we play out the City of Traitors. So we can play out the Mox, and it will give us a Fleshraker token. But our Ancient Tomb is off. Unless our opponent plays a Yavimaya. Yeah, this is not what we wanted. We could draw a card, but I don't think that's worth doing. I think we do want this Mox, because it makes us a Fleshraker. So we can't activate this. Float the mana. We'll play this one off the top, since we were going to play one anyway. We don't want this Mystic Forge on top of our library. We need to find more 0-drops. Play this. It gives us a chump blocker. And then what? We have to chump both of their guys. And then how are we winning? Good question. Yeah, that Mycospawn just pounded us a bit too much. Alright, do a little bit of blocking. We're fighting a good fight. We've got loads of time left on our clock, so... Alright, does our opponent have any colourless spell? We are dead to any colourless spell. We can't activate our Mystic Forge. No, we got nothing. Alright, game 3. Yeah, I think this is fine. We just go back in again. Okay, what does this hand do? Fleshraker into Mystic Forge. K command, that's okay here. Is this hand good enough? I don't know if it is. I feel like we need some fast mana to like power things out. I think I'm going to mulligan into something a little bit faster. Alright, I'll keep this one. I guess we don't need the Basalt Monolith here. A Devourer of Destiny, you say? Alright, let's play this out. Let's play a Grim Monolith. Play a Manifold Key. Let's untap the Grim Monolith. And now we could do a Kozilek's command for what, 2? That seems reasonable. This is just mana. We don't really need mana right now. I think we just put these both on the bottom. And draw some more mana. So the next plan is Urza Saga and hope that it works. Not convinced it will in the face of our opponent's Mycospawns and Wastelands. But it's the thing that we have that we can do. We have a lot of mana if we draw something like the One Ring we can just really pop off. What do they exile? Pretty good cards. Which means it's probably the Chalice they found. Oh, Null Rod though. Alright, that's pretty solid. Well, we have the answer to that in Urza Saga. We leave the Mox Opal in hand because if we get a Fleshraker, we want to be able to play the Mox Opal for some value. Just playing it into the Chalice of Void, into the bin, does nothing. Our opponent's got a Mycospawn. Okay. Thought-Knot Seer is fine. Like, it is a big beater. But it's not going to take a card from... Well, it'll take our Mox, but we don't care about that. It doesn't do anything. Okay. We don't have Metalcraft, so our Workshop will not tap for 2. A Spatial Contortion. Do I want... I think I do want to play the City of Traitors out. So we can make a 3-3. I don't really want to trade that for a Thought-Knot Seer, though. Because it's going to get bigger. We can chump block with an Eldrazi spawn. We can just take the 4. Oh, no. That's so annoying. Alright, there's a Saga. We have a guy. And we take 4 here. And then we start cracking back. We got a couple of chump blockers if we need it. I'll play out this Grim Monolith. It grows our little friend. I don't really want to play this Workshop out though. Getting 4. We can use the Ancient Tomb to Spatial Contortion if we need to. Not that it does anything to this Thought-Knot here. But artifacts still grow our little friend. Another Wasteland. Right, I'm going to see a Fleshraker, I believe, here. A Chalice for 1. Okay. That's fine. If our opponent holds back their guy here... Okay, they're not holding back the guy. I don't think we block. I think we just take the 4 again. We want to keep our mana when our mana is kind of under wraps because of this Null Rod. This Spatial Contortion can be additional damage for us. I don't really like this Wasteland that our opponent has. I'll attack with this Construct. So we might be using this Spatial Contortion as damage, just by giving our creature +3, -3. Vugin. Yep, our opponent's certainly working up their curve. Ooh, they're not blocking. Sorry, they're not attacking. An artifact that costs 2, maybe? Another Spatial Contortion. So we can kill this and bash for a bunch. Right, I'm down to clown with that. It's cost us our City of Traitors. It doesn't have to cost us our City of Traitors, but I think it's worth doing. Actually, we didn't even need to play the Urza's Workshop, did we? We get to draw a card here, though. A K command. That is a real Magic the Gathering card, isn't it? Splash for 6. 1, 2, 3, 4. So we can do a K command for 2. That puts our opponent to 1. It's not where I want to be. If we wait till we untap, we just have a burn. We have just a fireball. Devourer of Destiny. That doesn't do it. Alright. Our opponent can't cast a K command now either. So we'll make some tokens. Do some scrying. Here comes a K command and the fireball. Alright, we got the match. You know what? We're playing for a trophy. We are 4-0. Let's see if we can grab that trophy, shall we? Alright, we're on the play, and it is a trophy, and this hand does not look good. So this trophy match, we're going to try and take it seriously. Yeah? So we go Workshop, Petal, pay 2, play Grim Monolith. Pay 3, play Grim Monolith. We can play a lot here. What are we going to bin off is the question. So we can either bin off the Bauble. We haven't played against any blue decks yet. It's about time that Bauble was good, right? We're on the play. Maybe we just go Urza's Workshop, Bauble, and then get rid of the Petal. Right, I can see that. Which means that we're going to resolve our bits and pieces a bit more easily. People tend to be running a lot more Grief rather than actual factual Thoughtseize. So this should hopefully stop us from getting any of these things discarded. Oh, an Eldrazi Temple. Okay, so our Vexing Bauble is useless. Nice. Would I like an Urza's Saga or an Urza's Workshop here? I think it's just a Workshop. And we'll play this Grim Monolith out. Next turn we can play the Paradox Engine and start our Saga ticking. I have Ugin, so we could see a Thought-Knot sit here, which would be worth keeping his hand for. Yep, there it is. So we're going to lose the Paradox Engine, most likely. Now I kind of wish we played out the Saga. Maybe that made more sense. We can crack the Vexing Bauble because it is bad in this matchup. A Manifold Key. That doesn't hurt, does it? Okay, so we play this one out. Then we play out the Manifold Key. This turns on our Metalcraft. So this will tap for 3 mana. We can draw a card here. Grim Monolith. I'll play out one of those. I'll leave the other one in hand. It's bad against additional Thought-Knots, but it can trigger some stuff. No, I think we just play it out here. Alright, we need to find something. We need to dodge a Wasteland as well. If we can make a 5-5, we can slow our opponent's roll a little bit. But if they play a Wasteland here... No, not a Wasteland. Alright, that's good news. But they could have a Line Breaker here, which is a lot of damage. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. A Spirit Guide, and they can do a Myco Spawn. They could just play a Myco Spawn and get a Wasteland here. And that's obviously devastating. This is going to destroy our artifact and destroy our... Oh, they didn't destroy our Urza Saga. Oh my lord, that's so good for us. Oh, that's so good for us. Why didn't they kick it? They could have kicked it and taken out our... Oh, no, yeah, sorry, they just took the wrong thing out, right? They should have just taken out our Saga. Now, they are tracking for 10 here, which is a lot. I think you want to take out the Saga, because that leaves us with nothing. But if we find, like, the One Ring here, then we'll probably win the game. Right, we did not find the One Ring. That was a shame. We'll make a Manifold Key, because it makes our guy bigger, and then we'll pass. So we're going to make a 5-5. Let's see how aggressive our opponent wants to get here. They're going to attack with just the Line Breaker. No, they attack with everything. We're going to make a big construct. I think we block the 4-4. This is 6, 7, 8. That's a lot of damage. But we get to draw a card. Maybe it's going to be a good one. Ooh, Mystic Forge. That is quite a good one. I think we want to get our Urza Saga up and running, though. Let's make a construct. This will tutor, presumably, just another key. We'll make a Mystic Forge. And we will play a Lotus Petal. I don't really want to pay any life here. But we can play a Vexing Bauble. We could sacrifice this. I think that's probably worth doing here. A Kozilek's command is pretty solid here. How much mana are we going to be using is a question. I'd like to untap this Grim Monolith as well. Okay. Let's just tap all these monoliths and do the biggest thing we can do here. Are we just making colourless spawns? That's a lot of colourless spawns. I think that is probably for the best. Because we can just play enough artifacts here. Because there's a lot of surveils that we can stack our Mystic Forge. Okay, we don't want this Ancient Tomb. This can go on the bottom of our library. We don't need an Urza's Cave. That can go on the bottom. The One Ring is excellent here. I definitely want that. We don't want the Vexing Bauble. Key is fine. We don't want these Mystic Forges. They cost too much mana. I like the Karn. Obviously, the One Ring is probably the best thing here. And we want the Karn. We want the One Ring. I guess we... Well, the Key represents mana anyway. I think we put this on top. Then the Karn. Then the One Ring. Then the two keys. So we cast this. We cast the One Ring. We get that sweet trigger, and our opponent sees the writing on the wall. We crash for 10 here, and then next turn we just have 2 unblockable, at least 10 power guys. Alright, once again, we are in removing our Vexing Baubles, and adding in the Spatial Contortions and the Disruptor Flutes. Basically, the Vexing Baubles have been terrible all league. Lots of people playing colourless decks at the moment, which is a very strong part of the metagame right now. Whether you're playing Cloud Post, whether you're playing Eldrazi, those decks are really solid, and clearly the deck we're playing is pretty solid too. This hand does not look like a keeper to me. The One Ring is excellent in this sort of matchup. I also like having access to Urza's Saga. What goes back here? It's probably the Workshop. We do need to get our Ancient Tomb up and running, because I think we want to play the One Ring as early as possible. And I will play out this Mox Opal. Alright, so we have the One Ring next turn. If that doesn't work, we can Karn and maybe Turtle behind an Ensnaring Bridge. Our opponent's shown us Mox Diamonds, so we can crack their Mox Diamonds with a Karn. But it feels like we're going to get Thought-Knot Seal again. It's a similar start to before. Yep. Okay, so we probably lose the One Ring here, because that card is the best thing we have. What a ridiculous card the One Ring is. Yep, there it goes. Are we going to run into that classic Thoughtseize bug and immediately draw another copy of the One Ring? No, we're not. Okay. So we can either play this Saga and this Manifold Key, or we can play a Karn, but I don't like the Karn that much here into the face of this Thought-Knot Seal. I think we're better off getting this Manifold Key down and getting towards Metalcraft, as wild as that is, and then try and do some Karn stuff after we make some Sagas, because the Sagas are the thing that keep us alive till we can empty our hand enough for the Ensnaring Bridge. Glaring Fleshraker, that is very good against Ensnaring Bridge. Right, the Wasteland is savage here. Goodbye as a Saga. Goodbye potential constructs. They're going to cast anything off this 1 mana they got floating. Okay, we're losing another permanent. Oh no, we're not. This is just plain as a guy. They didn't put any coloured mana into this one. But we're going to take 4 this turn. Next turn, and we take 8 plus whatever else they have. So I think our opponent just kills us next turn. We maybe get 1 more turn after that. City of Traitors. So the Karn isn't even good here, right? So we do this, we pay 2 life. I think we just play the Saga again. I don't think we can win this one. But if we draw the One Ring, then we always have a chance, because that card is absurd. Right, so we take 8. They didn't have the guy that pumps all their guys. Hit the Herald's End, that's the guy that pumps all their guys. Colourless Lord of Atlantis, sort of. Kozilek's command, this is lethal. This pings us for 1. And then the Kozilek's command makes the spawn tokens and kills us. Alright, so we are on the play for the final game for the trophy. I like how our deck is sideboarded. I think being on the play is a huge difference in this matchup. We have mana. This is all in on an Urza's Saga. But it has a lot of mana, so anything we draw at the top is good. I don't think we can keep that. That's mulligan. Our deck does more powerful stuff than that. This is kind of the same hand, isn't it? But it is more mana. Alright, I'm going to keep this. I think we get rid of the City of Traitors. I'm not happy about this. So if we just play out the Saga on 1, then we just start making constructs on 2. We can go Ancient Tomb, Grim Monolith, Basalt Monolith, Key, make a construct. Okay, so our opponent has a Wasteland. That's completely undoes our plan. Understood. So we need to draw one of our many payoffs. That's not a bad one, is it? So we play this Monolith, play this Monolith, and then I think we can pass here a Wasteland. Do we need... I don't think we need to do anything here. We are actually committing stuff to the board and our opponent isn't. A Grim Monolith. Right, so 3 mana, untap the Grim Monolith, 3 mana, play this Grim Monolith. Let's do the Kozilek's command thing. So we get a lot of mana out of this, and we get to stack the top of our deck. Karn the Great Creator is not a bad Magic the Gathering card. We could immediately play that right now, and +1, and then if we put a land on top so we don't get... Oh, we're not getting wastelanded and losing all of our guys here, are we? Alright. I think the plan here is to put this on top and this on top. We'll cast Karn. I don't want... do I think they can actually get us with anything here? I think... Do we just get the Ensnaring Bridge? I think we just get the Ensnaring Bridge here. And then we can Lattice lock our opponent next turn. Potentially. 2. We got 2 mana, 3 mana. Alright, yeah. So we can just Lattice lock this turn, I think. Let's untap this. This is 3 mana, 4, 5, 6. So if we go -2 here, we will get the Mycosynth Lattice. And we can immediately cast this. Is that the ball game? And it's the trophy too. Excellent. Absolutely love to see it. We are the king of the colourless decks, as it turns out. With a little bit shaky on the first game, just sort of getting my legs underneath me, but we managed to rally this one and get the trophy. Wasn't the cleanest trophy to begin with, but like I said, I'm not used to playing these sorts of decks at all, and by the end of it, I think we had a good idea of what we're trying to do. So yeah, pretty cool. Let's talk about the list. So this list is clearly very powerful, and we can kind of do a lot from nothing, right? So we can do our One Ring, Mystic Forge, or Karn stuff from kind of nowhere and just go absolutely wild. And Kozilek's command was an absolute all-star. Like, we had a bunch of mana. If we don't have the One Ring, we don't have Mystic Forge, we don't have Karn, then we still have a Kozilek's command, which can then find the next thing along. We won with Urza Sagas in some of the games, just making some big tokens. That was good. Also quicker to win with than clicking through a million things. But once you get a Fleshraker and start doing stuff, it's quite quick to actually win with this deck compared to before, where you have to basically play your whole deck and try and get the Aetherflux Reservoir. We just don't have to do that anymore. It makes it easier to cheese wins. This makes it easier to just keep rattling off mana. It makes it easier to pressure like an enemy Karn. It gives you chump blockers if you need them. Yeah, just really solid. Now, playing a deck that looks like this does give you some weaknesses. So Null Rod is decidedly horrible for us to play against because it shuts off basically, like, we can still cast off the top with Mystic Forge, but that's not great. But it shuts off lots of stuff. Now, the Fleshraker is something that we can do outside of a Null Rod and maybe still win the game by just playing stuff out, having chump blockers, playing more stuff out, eventually finding this Kozilek's command and just fireballing our opponent. That's something we can do, but we have to make sure that we have real mana underneath us. We can't use artifact mana to get the Fleshraker going. That is one thing to worry about. We can do Saga wins as well, but if our opponent has the combination of of Blood Moon or Harbinger of the Tides, one of those sorts of effects, plus a Null Rod, then we just cannot play the game here. Like, maybe we can hardcast this Karn and go and find the Argentum Masticore sort of thing, but that should not be beating any deck if that's the only thing we can do, really. So there are definitely weaknesses to a deck like this. It's not going to be too powerful or anything like that. It did kind of suck that we didn't get to use Vexing Bauble as a defensive piece, really. It was just a thing that drew us some extra cards every now and then and got sideboarded out for more relevant cards. But nevertheless, that's still fine. When this is good, it is very good. If we're on the play against Scam, we play that, we might be able to just guarantee that we get to do our whole thing. Like, this deck felt very strong, and I imagine if you put in the reps and get to learn, like, better sequencing, better like what hands you need for what matchups, stuff like that, then you're gonna get even more value out of it. But if somebody who is not very good at playing these sorts of decks like me can trophy with it, then you can too. I think this deck is certainly something to keep on your radar. It has put up a decent amount of 5-0s, and I think it placed relatively well in the recent challenge. Like, it's very much a real deck, and if you have a bunch of stuff discarded, you can still just rip something off the top and just go, because you've got so many big things that just snowball the game. This deck seems very strong. It's not something I want to play every day because there's a lot of clicking involved, and that could be a bit of hassle, and it's not really what I want, but it's a lot cleaner than previous incarnations of this deck before you had the Fleshraker and the Kozilek's command. I think these have made the deck a lot faster to play, a lot more enjoyable to play, and more importantly, it's made the deck stronger. So if you've got yourself some Ancient Tombs and City of Traitors kicking around, and some One Rings, because these are pretty expensive, I believe now, then this feels like a deck that you might want to sleeve up for the old legacy, because it certainly felt like we were playing something that could go toe-to-toe with basically anything, because our game plan was really strong and direct, and we have a lot of redundancy, which is something you need in this sort of scam meta. You need that level of redundancy so that you can't just have like your A plus B picked apart. You need to be able to have lots of tools that you can leverage, and this deck is just full of like I've already mentioned, all the cards that just help it go along and turn big mana into big wins. And let's just have a little bit of praise for the One Ring. This card is absolutely bananas. I don't know what they were thinking when they made this, but what an engine. I've never seen the like. It is just the most ridiculous engine, especially in a deck like this where I'm tapping it multiple times. This plus Paradox engine is gross. Alright, we are done for today. I hope you enjoyed this one. Please remember to like and subscribe. It's been a little while since we trophied, so that's nice, especially since it's on a deck I'm unfamiliar with, really. Alright, thank you so much for watching. I appreciate all the support you lovely people out there give me, and goodbye.
If you'd like to support me in the channel, please check out my Patreon. It has a free guide to budget Turbodepths, as well as 3 tiers of support. A low-cost one that enters you into my monthly raffle for a free donation deck on the channel, a mid-tier subscription that gives you access to my detailed Turbodepths guide that is updated every month, as well as regular articles, and lastly, the higher tier gives you all of the above, as well as a monthly donation deck for my channel. If you're interested in supporting the channel this way, please check out the link in the description.